Pete, have you been diving into all the awards nomination lists on Letterboxd? I am drowning in amazing films to watch.
Yeah, I've seen your activity feed, Andy. You're really in your element. I've peeked at the lists, but you know me. I'm more of a watch what I like kind of guy. I'm not so much an award season fanatic.
I get that, but hear me out. Award season is like this buffet of incredible cinema across all these different genres. The nominations are just the appetizer, and then you can dig into Letterboxd reviews from all of our fellow film buffs to find the main courses that really hit the spot.
Okay, I see your point, and I do trust the opinions of Letterboxd reviewers who share my taste in movies. Maybe I should be paying a bit more attention to the awards buzz this year.
And hey, as patron members, we've got these awesome features that can make award season even more fun, like personalized streaming recs and crazy detailed stats. You know how much I love my stats.
I do. You're a stats hooligan. Those Patreon perks are legit. That was the best decision we made upgrading our memberships.
100%. And if any of our friends are thinking about joining the patron party, they can use Next Reel for a sweet 20% off. Sharing is caring, am I right?
Good call. I'll keep that in mind. All right, you twisted my arm. I'll try to get more into the awards spirit this year, but no promises on reaching your level of dedication.
Hey, you do you, Pete. But I've got a feeling this season's going to be a wild ride. We're going to find some new gems. I guarantee it.
With Letterboxd as our trusty sidekick. I don't doubt it. Thanks for the pep talk. Let the awards adventure begin.
Anytime, my friend. Can't wait to swap notes and see what cinematic treasures we unearth. Happy watching. Thanks for tuning in to another show in the Next Reel family of film podcasts.
Want to skip those ads and get early access?
Become a member at truestory.fm/join and discover all the other great perks that come with it.
I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Andy Nelson.
Welcome to the Next Reel. When the movie ends,
our conversation begins.
Sing Street is over. You're just material from my songs. Oh, Andy, it's the third. Oh, are you sad a little bit that we're leaving Carney?
Well, I will say I am sad now that I've re-enjoyed these three films that you had on this list. I am sad that you didn't include Florence on to give me an excuse to watch it, because I still have yet to watch that one.
It'll have to be a bonus. I have yet to watch it too. I completely spaced that it existed. And then I thought Steve and JJ talked about it and didn't care for it as much at one point, and so I allowed it to slip from my memory.
Yeah.
But anyhow, this is Sing Street. This is the third in our Streetwise musicals series from John Carney. And this is, for my money, the best of the three. And I think it's the best of the three because it incorporates all of the stuff that I like from the other two movies with I think the right amount of money. More or less, whatever. I think it was the right budget in the right place with the right people. The music is, of course, is for me.
Is it? Okay, I have a question about that because we'll get there, but I have a question about that.
Okay. But the music is where I really love the music. And it's a movie that balances. The thing that it does new is it leans so heavily on wish fulfillment for half the movie. Half the movie, we have a character who's trapped in the constraints of the real world. And the other half of the movie are the escape of music, the fable that is, we're going to be a band and we're going to be so much better than we could possibly ever have been at our age and our experience level. But we're going to live in this fantasy universe through our music, and that's going to be our escape. And the sort of duality that's going on in this movie really appeals to me. And that's the nature of Sing Street. So I love it.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's a fantastic film that does, I mean, your what you said, I think fits, where it kind of takes the best of what Carney was doing with Once and Begin Again, and it gives us a fuller, richer story with interesting characters. I mean, you can definitely say there's heavy tropes throughout the film, but I think because it's so easy to fall in love with the characters and the story. I think it's very easy to kind of move past any of those tropey issues and just enjoy it for what it is, which is a really fantastic story about a clearly talented kid who's trying to figure out how to weave inspiration into his talents, right? Like we're watching him figure himself out. It's like Glenn Hansard, or him in Once, had already figured himself out. He was already writing songs. He was already performing stuff. This is a 15-year-old kid who who decides he wants to do it. It wasn't even clear at the start that he was actually wanting to start a band. It's just something that suddenly he's spurred on to do when he sees this beautiful girl across the street. And so we're watching him figure out how to do all of this. We're seeing him take things from his brother as inspiration, other artists, things that he says, his feelings about this new girl that he meets, just like everything from his world. And that's what anyone, I suppose, probably who takes any classes when they're young, you're going to be taught, like if you're a writer, like write what you know or paint what you know or whatever. It's like use that immediacy to start figuring yourself out, to start figuring out how to tap into inspiration and create these things. And I love the way that is portrayed, and then I love his journey over the course of the story, paired with Rafina and her journey as well.
Just as an aside, Jack Rayner says Rafina best in the movie. I like the way he says her name the best.
Well, I like the way he says most of the things that come out of his mouth the best. His accent true. Is just so amazing. Fantastic. Yeah. And honestly, he's the best character in the film. I mean, I would love to see a film. I don't know if I'd love to see a film about him, because he's clearly a character who has kind of lost himself and sees his brother as inspirational, but I don't know if he's going to change anything. But he's still just a great character. Such a fantastic character.
Well, he is, and he has a chance at the end. He writes some lyrics, and I guess that's I don't know, maybe this is he writes some lyrics, I guess, kind of as a gift, and he gives them to his brother as they're about to take off across the open ocean.
Is that one of your worst nightmares? In a dinghy?
Tiny boat. Are you reading it from the tone of my voice?
Hey, it wasn't a lake. It wasn't a lake.
It wasn't a lake, but when he says, this is the part where you should sit down, I was like, okay, I'm going to lay down right on the bottom of the boat. Anyway, I felt like I think you have something there. Like it's nice to have his little nugget of reconciliation with his past, like with being able to write some lyrics. And the way I hear it, the song, that's Adam Levine, right? I think Adam Levine, Go On is the Adam Levine track at the end. And that song, I'm hearing the brother's lyrics there. Like he hands the lyrics, that's the next song. He's singing his brother and girlfriend off into the ocean.
Yeah.
Into the ocean is, I've said intentionally, they're dead.
Yeah.
Everybody's dead.
He's coated in water. Our last shot,
yes.
They're going down.
Yep, they're going down.
I did not, I don't think I had thought about that with that last song until after we finished watching it. My wife was like, do you think that's the lyrics that his brother wrote for him? I'm like, oh, I suppose that's what that was. Yeah, it plays so nicely. And I shockingly, didn't recognize Levine's voice because he's not doing his Levine-ness.
It's so non-Levine.
Yeah.
Crazy, right? No, I think that's it. That was, he wrote that song. I think Levine
co-wrote it. Co-wrote it with Carney and Hansard. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that's Rayner, who's amazing in this thing. And I like Rayner all over the place. I like Midsommar and The Peripheral and even, Transformers. He was his top 4. I'll celebrate his whole top 4. I like Rayner enough.
He's one of those people, hey, he's in Florence on Pete. Another reason
I know.
You need to watch that one. This is funny. He was born in Longmont and lived in Boulder, Colorado until he was 2, which means that he was there 92 to 94-ish.
Oh my gosh.
So we were all in Boulder together.
How did we never meet? I mean, I know he was 2.
How did we not meet 2-year-old Jack Rayner? I mean, come on.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay. Meanwhile, back to the principal reason this movie exists. This is the story of our young Conor, who is stuck in a gray world of gray uniforms and gray skies and gray bricks and gray streets. And he's just on a hunt for color. This whole movie is a search for color that is found through bleached fringe and makeup and Duran Duran.
And interesting clothing choices that he starts rocking out to. And this was his first film, is my understanding, and it's it's pretty impressive to land on this as kind of your first film. I think he does such a great job of this character who's this wide-eyed but very eager and willing to take risks. Like, I'm always impressed with how he just jumps at the chance to take risks, like when he sees Rafina across the street and just goes and talks to her. And when he, has his comments that he makes to Barry, he's a brazen kid. And I love that about him. And I think that's inspiring to see that. And I think Ferdia pulls it off. And, I think for a young kid, because let's see, as an actor, he was like 17 or so when they made this film.
Yeah, something like that.
Like, he still is close to that age, and he's still singing a lot of these songs and carrying the tunes. And I think it's an interesting line that Carney had him walk, of sounding like a kid with talent, but also sounding like a kid who hadn't had training,
Well, hadn't had training, but progresses so ably through the musical part of this movie. Like, the beginning, he really sounds like a kid who doesn't have training, but by the end, he's a pro. I mean, he sounds great. By his dream image, the fantasy image of him and the band at the prom or Find You, those tracks, he is legitimately talented, and it's fantastic. It's talent beyond his years, and that's what we need, right? Because I think the believability of the movie, even though Ferdia is a musician and he's very, very talented in his own real right, I think we get a sense that I don't know that we're supposed to believe that these kids could pick up a guitar for the first time and end up becoming, as Rayner says, right? Did the Sex Pistols have any training? Right? I don't think we're supposed to believe these guys could become the Sex Pistols over the course of the last 45 minutes of this movie. And yet, in their fantasy, in the wish fulfillment universe, they do. They're all very talented in their own right, which is the kind of the head conflict that I struggle with, which is, am I supposed to believe that they're so good, even though I don't think they could be, even though they really are in real life? Right? They're really that talented. That I find fascinating. As good as they are as musicians, to the extent that, some of them played all their instruments and Ferdia can sing, they are preternaturally good songwriters. That's the piece that is maybe the least believable, that feels the most cinematic. Their songs are way more touching and in tune with the human experience than they should be at that age. And that's okay too.
Well, that's true. Yeah. But that also speaks to the context of the story, I think.
Yes.
Like, we're like, he's learning through Brendan, who is teaching him how to write better songs. He's talking to him about what is happy, sad, and trying to explore these things with him. And he's going through a lot in his life. Like, his parents are struggling because it's Ireland in the mid 80s when everything was just crap. They're barely working. They're getting a divorce because his mother has fallen in love with her boss. So the family has little money. So he's had to transfer schools. Like, life has been really rough. And so, now he's presumably I'm assuming because they transferred him to a public school, I'm assuming that he had been in a private school of some sort. Rafina kind of says as much when she comments about like somebody like you over in a school like this. And so it's been hard. And so I don't know. It is interesting to see a young person like this kind of tapping into that stuff as well as he does. But also, I think sometimes, and I think smartly, just some of the lyrics or the way that the songs are constructed just feel a little less like I think, I don't know, it's a tricky line because I feel like the team putting the songs together did a good job of crafting them as if it was young people crafting them. Not like, it doesn't sound like 30-year-olds or however the old these musicians who wrote the songs are writing them, you know?
Well, Gary Clark was much older. It was in Danny Wilson in the 90s. Like, I think it brings that sense of wisdom. But you're right. Like, and when you hear Carney talk about it, right, he's very open with the fact that this movie allowed him to tell a story of the alternate future that he wished he could have created when he was a child, like when he was this age. I wish I could have gone up to a girl and said, "Hey, I'm making a music video and you're beautiful, you should be in it," and have her say yes, and then form a band and have that band be really successful and have us run off happily with love that is requited in a way that gives you an optimistic view of the world in a time that was objectively dark. And he set off to make a fairy tale through his fascination and love of music, and I think he nailed it.
Yeah, that's interesting because it does read that way, and it's interesting when you look at this film after Once and Begin Again, and you see, especially after hearing you describe it like that, Once is a story about two musicians who come together at a key point in both of their lives where they were both kind of separated from the person that they had been with. For her husband; for him, his girlfriend. And they find kind of a common ground and a place to kind of like emotionally connect where it almost feels like they love each other and they're going to have a relationship. They have all the musical experience, but then they end up going their own separate ways again. Begin Again, similarly, like Mark Ruffalo's character is having a weird relationship with his wife, and same thing with Kira's character, right? She and her boyfriend are kind of breaking up because of his fame and everything like that. They have that that emotional connection. It's like something in the world of creativity. When you're doing something like this together, you grow closer to each other because of that connection that you're having at that moment. And in that story also, they go their separate ways. Like there's a moment of recognition where it could have crossed into a relationship, but she backs off and he ends up back with his wife. And everything presumably is fine. This is the only one where they end up together. And it's interesting that, with that backstory in mind about his kind of a wish fulfillment of his past life, that you can see it play out that way. I mean, he chose to tell a period piece about young people who are now going through a similar journey. But in this particular case, even though Rafina has that moment where, she's also trying to figure herself off, and she goes off with this lame Genesis-loving boyfriend on and off again boyfriend, but it leads nowhere. And that when she finally ends up back with Conor, it's like, and who knows if their relationship will work out in London? Like, will they be able to figure it out? Or are they just the puzzle piece? See, this is now the skeptic in me, knowing what Carney has done with all of his stories. The skeptic in me says their emotional connection right now, because of everything they've been doing and creating together and the passion that they've found, is driving them to London, where they're going to work on finding their own careers. But maybe they're not going to end up together. maybe they're just going to, like, all of that is just driving them to a place where they're going to create their own careers.
So you missed the entire point of wish fulfillment.
I'm just saying, when it comes to Carney, he's already shown me 2 out of 3 times. And so it makes me...
But everything else in this movie is about finding the good. It's making the good choices at the right time to lead to positive outcomes. I think, as much as, look, for you, it's they move in different directions once they get to London. For me, they never survive the boat ride. But what I think...
true.
What I think...
So they died happy.
Exactly. What I think we should imagine is we should just stop the movie when they're last smiling together in our heads and just not canonize a future for them, because it really is good. The way the movie ends is good and positive and uplifting.
Yeah, this is a story that, and you could say that with all of these stories, but really this one, we don't want to see a sequel. We don't want to have that resolution, because it's the unknown is what makes it so gratifying, is we can just assume that they are going to be happy. Especially because, I mean, God, we already had Brendan like cheering in the streets for them. Like we can't now have them end up apart.
No, they really can only end up dead. Happy lovers dead in the cold northern sea.
I mean, the ferry almost takes them out.
I know. I was probably the most relieved when they actually ran into the ferry, because at least they had someone to follow. Right? At least they know where they're going.
If they hadn't, I'm like, he was going the wrong way. Like he was, because the ferry crosses their path and they have to like turn to follow it. So I'm like, did he even know where he was going?
Yeah, they were not going in the right place.
They're aiming for Wales. They're going to end up like the northern tip of Scotland or somewhere up there.
Yep. Wrong way.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, Pete here, along with my partner in crime here at True Story FM, Andy.
That's right. And as we kick off the new year, we wanted to talk to you about a resolution that can make a real difference, supporting the shows you love that are part of the Next Reel family of film podcasts.
Whether you're a regular listener of the Next Reel, CinemaScope, the Film Board, Movies We Like, or Sitting in the Dark, you're a part of a vibrant community of film lovers who appreciate thoughtful, engaging discussions about cinema.
And we are incredibly grateful for your support. Every listen, every share, every comment, it means the world to us. But if you really want to go the extra mile in supporting our independent film podcast this year, there's no better way than by becoming a member.
For just $5 a month or $55 a year, you can become a member of the Next Reel family of film podcasts. Not only will you get some awesome perks like early ad-free access to episodes as well as exclusive bonus content, but you'll also be directly supporting the shows you love.
Your membership helps us keep the mics running, the discussions flowing, and the film love growing across all of our shows. It's the most direct and impactful way to ensure that we can keep bringing you the high-quality content that you've come to expect.
Now, we know that not everyone can become a member, and that's okay. We appreciate all the ways our listeners support us. But if one of your resolutions this year is to support the content that you love, and you can spare a few bucks a month, your membership makes a real difference to us.
You'll be joining an incredible community of passionate film lovers. Our members are the heart and soul of what we do, and we are honored to have them on board.
So if you believe in the mission of independent film podcasting and you value the discussions and insights you hear on our shows, consider making a resolution to become a member this year.
Head to truestory.fm/join and sign up today. That's truestory.fm/join.
Because at the end of the day, it's all about celebrating our shared love of cinema and doing it together as a community on the Next Reel.
The Next Reel family of film podcasts. truestory.fm/join. Let's make 2026 a year of great film conversations together. All right. Well, we'll be right back after this quick break. And just a reminder, the ads you're about to hear help us keep the show free for you every week. If you enjoy what we do, listening to our sponsors is one of the best ways to support us, along with becoming a member. We'll return in just a moment.
Okay. So you wanted to talk about the music. I think that's an important part of the movie.
Yeah, the band creates this fantastic, these tracks that are delightful. They feel where you can see some of the tones and the ideas from the source material. Like he's listening to Rio from Duran Duran, and that first song that they play has kind of a Duran Duran sort of tone to it, right? And so I just know you and the 80s don't always mix as far as 80s music. And so I guess, because like we've talked about 80s music before, and you're like, oh God, if only there wasn't that damn 80s music. And so I guess I'm curious, because I feel like they did a pretty good job of writing music that captures the essence of what feels like 80s tunes. And so I'm just wondering, because you seem to enjoy the soundtrack, and I'm like, okay, so is this some weird line that I don't know about you and 80s music?
There may be. Can you give me some context of where I hate 80s music?
I can't, because I can't remember. I just feel like every time 80s music comes up, I feel like you're like, oh God, it's so 80s.
There's a lot of 80s that I don't like. As a child of the 80s, I feel like we are uniquely able to have opinions on the 80s. And I'm not crazy about a lot of the culture and style of the 80s. And it's fine. I was glad to move on. But the music, the reference music that they chose for this movie, The Jam, The Cure, even Hall & Oates, Joe Jackson.
When you're saying the reference music, are you talking about the other tracks that they play? Or are you talking about
Duran Duran,
okay.
The Cure, of course. I was a big fan of those bands. Right? Like those were formative bands for me. So this movie really does tap into a singular place in my music sort of development in that period. I had these albums.
I see. So this is the 80s music that
Yeah.
Okay, so this window. All right. Yeah. What about M? Because I feel like if there's a song in here that I'm like, Pete probably, that might be the most 80s song in here that he doesn't like, the pop music song.
You're right. That is definitely one that I didn't have the album.
Yeah. So then the music you like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Happy Sad, man. Happy Sad. When he threw the Cure album across the room, I was like, yeah, that's Happy Sad.
That's funny. I was so not into any of these groups.
Really?
At the time. Yeah.
Oh, man. Fort Fun wasn't really a bastion of this stuff?
Duran Duran might have been. Hall & Oates. Like those two on their soundtrack might have been the only two that I liked in the 80s.
Really?
I was musically inept for much of my life. I know.
That's really interesting. That's not like I want to fully litigate your high school experience at this point. I'll refrain from that, but to a great extent.
That's more junior high, like elementary school, junior high.
Yeah, that's fair. But still, I mean, it was the late 80s. I guess now we're in the early 90s.
Yeah, 85, like I just wasn't listening to anything like this in 85.
You were just listening to what? Audiobooks?
Were audiobooks even around? Is that when they came in like that giant binder of like 50 cassettes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was listening to in 85. Probably VH1 and once in a while MTV.
Oh my God, that says so much.
I know.
That you would drop VH1 and not even MTV.
No, MTV I wasn't listening to as much. Like I loved like Thriller, like some of the early videos. I was a big fan of those, but I wasn't watching as much of that. Yeah, it took me a while. No, it was probably 85. God, what grade would I have been? It probably was a little bit after this that I probably about 87, 88, I shifted to MTV.
Okay.
I'm telling you, it took a long time.
It's all right. Anyway, so the music is, for me, and you already said it, the structure of the music in this movie is is one of the things that's the most interesting about it. It's the fact that you get both the curriculum that Conor and crew are studying, and you get the result of each of their studies. You get to hear the song that they write that is in the flavor of the source material that they're writing it in. And I think that works really, really well. The other thing that I think is captured beautifully in this one, which we also have in Once and Begin Again, right? We have the experience of songwriters discovering each other and the magic of writing songs together, of collaboration. And in this movie, it's with, what's his name, the glasses kid?
Eamon.
Every time Conor goes to Eamon's house and holds up his notebook and says, "Do you want to write a song with me?" And Eamon says, "Yep," is magic. And watching them collaborate on writing the song together and figuring out chords and rhythms and beats and lyrics is fantastic. It feels so good. Absolutely to the level of the piano store scene in Once or the open mic night sequence in Begin Again. It is a magical experience of watching music take shape between people.
Yeah, I mean, we don't get anything quite as like effectively from start to finish as we do as Falling Slowly, because I mean that's our first time really hearing that song as they figure it out together. This is really this is really more banging it out and figuring it out, and we get chunks here and there, and it's nice to actually see by the time we get to the music videos when we're really getting
the whole song,
the full versions. And that's, I think, what plays well in this film is that shift in, it's about the songs, but a lot of it is about the videos, because that's how he draws Rafina into his world. Right? She's the model across the street. He has totally fallen for her. I mean, it's hard not to fall for Lucy Boynton. She's just so easy on the eyes. And she's just so sweet. And the way she plays the character works so well. And her growth as a character of this person who, yeah, she wants to become a model, but she's also trying to figure stuff out, and she's, as we kind of get a sense later in the movie, she's not maybe as far along as she led him on to believe,
Right.
And so, in a way, she's kind of riding his coattails across the sea, to go make it as a model now. And I think it's nice to see that inspiration, that belief in him as she gets to the end and goes over there with him.
Well, the fact that they are both, Conor and Rafina, are adorable and broken because of the boxes that they're in, but in different ways, I think is one of the things that makes their relationship really special. And that they, like yin and yang, they sort of complete each other's, or find each other's brokenness and are able to buoy it in a really lovely way, not a super damaging way. Certainly not the way, Conor's parents are interacting with each other, which is really terrible. But in this, in the way that the band is able to buoy their new roadie, the bully from school, and turn him around and make him somebody who is thrilled to be able to contribute to something, is incredibly special. What a beautiful turn for that character. The one that you don't really see coming. It is just lovely.
I think so too. I think it's just fantastic the way that Barry, his story changes, which it really starts at the moment that he and his dad are passing them making a video, and his dad is commenting and says something, and Barry makes a snide remark, and his dad backhands him. And we're like, oh, okay, now I see where this guy's coming from. Because before that, you're just like, this guy's just a dick. But then you're like, oh, I can now understand more about Barry, and I feel bad for him now every time something else is happening to him, because you're realizing he's got troubles. And you kind of suspect that story is over in the point where Conor tells him off at the school. And it's just like, whatever he says, it's just so fantastic the way that he kind of tells off Barry, and is just like, you're nothing.
Yeah. He says, hit me. Do what you need to do. If you need to do this, that's fine. But just know you're just more material for my music. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And you think that that's the end of it. And so it's a real surprise when it circles around. But that brings me to a question that I have for you, because like we've seen in other films that we've talked about on the show, like Lindsay Anderson's If with Malcolm McDowell, we have a real sense of, for this purposes, I'll say, British school systems and the way that headmasters treat students, and the way there's always a teacher who is kind of like the more understanding and inspiring one. No surprise that she was an art teacher in this one.
We don't get a lot of her.
Yeah, the bullies, like a lot of this sort of stuff, even like kind of a shift in the relationship with the bully. Like there's a lot of tropes that he's playing into here. And I mean, you can say certainly any film about schools, you can find a lot of these tropes too, but like, how do you feel about all the tropes? Is it too much? I mean, our headmaster, I think, is probably the most of the tropes. Brother Baxter, who is like, I mean, he's abusive. Like he punches that student at the end, who
punches him right in the face.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
He forcibly drags Conor to the bathroom and scrubs his face in the sink to get the makeup off. Like he's a terrible, terrible leader of this place. Is he too tropey? You know, like where do you stand on like that level of these characters?
I don't know. I think one of the other pieces of, when we discuss tropes is that tropes exist for a reason, and tropes are only problematic when they're handled ham-handedly. In this case, the music parts of the movie are so fabulous that it feels in balance to have Conor's journey to this non-secular school and have such a brutal experience with the people there be as awful as the music is good. And I find that emotionally, tonally appropriate. I did not find any of the stuff that we would perceive as sort of stereotypical. I didn't find any of it offensive to me. I didn't find any of it narratively offensive. I didn't find any of it ham-handed. I found it in solid balance to the journey that Conor's going through, because, it exists to amplify his emotional state, right? It's so bad because that's how he feels about it. Now, just like the music videos happened probably not the way they did in his head, maybe his experience with Father Baxter or whatever was not as bad as it was in his head either, right? I think it's fair to say that maybe his experience at school was a little bit more smooth, but it doesn't matter because that was what he was feeling at the time, right? It doesn't matter what the reality was because he was feeling like it was hell every time he walked into school.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see that. I don't think we're seeing anything that's fanciful or in his head except that one video. I think that only one time do we step into his imagination as to what the video is becoming. I think the rest of the videos are pretty as is. It's just when he's doing the prom one where Brother Baxter comes in and starts doing backflips and and dancing and does the little blessing to him,
But I just mean like the nature of that part of the movie as a fable, right? That it's hard. What we were talking about earlier, how much do we believe that these 15-year-old kids who had never picked up instruments now are able to become a pop band? I don't think we have to believe that necessarily. Let's just go along for the ride. This is, in many respects, a Big Fish story, so it's fine.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm just, I'm playing devil's advocate because I really don't have many problems with the way that the tropes work in this film. I mean, they're very noticeable, but I think you're right. I think nothing is egregious or bothersome or done in a way where it takes you out of the story because it all fits the context of this journey that Conor is on. And so I think because of that, I find myself like in all the scenes with Brother Baxter, I find them playing fine, playing acceptably. They work in context of this story that we're getting. I mean, as you said, they're tropes for a reason. Like this, sadly, there are headmasters and principals like this who are awful with their students.
Who make the decision that it's better for a student in a cold Irish, I don't know, is it winter? It just feels cold, always cold. It's probably March. But it's better for a student to learn a lesson by going barefoot than by wearing shoes that aren't black, right? Ridiculous.
Yeah, it's awful. And so it all plays fine to me. And I guess I think this is a good lesson. Like the way that this film is constructed is a good lesson on taking tropes and integrating them well into your story so that it doesn't end up feeling like, ugh, it's so cliche, you know?
Yeah.
I think it's probably harder to do than you think.
Truly. And you're right. I mean, I none of this feels cliched to me. It feels like we're taking unique, interesting characters and putting them through an experience that is relatable to us as human beings.
Yeah. I think one of the funniest scenes that perhaps is most relatable is when he asks all the Irish girls to actually do some dancing at the start of that scene and just snap your fingers like it's the 50s. That is some of the funniest, like, awful dancing that I've ever seen.
It was incredible. We have a lot of white people don't have rhythm. Speaking of tropes, I did not know that it gets worse the further north you go. like there is a really wide gradient of white people don't have rhythm depths we have yet to plumb.
Oh, it was pretty awful. It was hilariously so. So yeah, lots of fun. All right. Well, we'll be right back. But first, our credits.
The Next Reel is a production of True Story FM, engineering by Andy Nelson, music by Dimitrix, Wonderland, Ian Locke, Oriel Novella, and Eli Catlin. Andy usually finds all the stats for the awards and numbers at the-numbers.com, boxofficemojo.com, imdb.com, and wikipedia.org. Find the show at truestory.fm, and if your podcast app allows ratings and reviews, please consider doing that for our show.
So this is the end of this this trilogy that you had kind of dubbed as the Streetwise trilogy. I think that we've determined Flora and Son is a similar type of musical, right? Like this is kind of Carney's thing, right? It's about, I'm assuming she's a mother who sings music with her son or something. Is that what that movie's about?
I don't know, man. How would we be able to even tell? We haven't watched it. How would we know?
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of, along the same thing. And then he's filming a new movie right now, Power Ballad, an upcoming musical comedy film with Paul Rudd, Nick Jonas, Jack Rayner, Havana Rose Liu, and Sophie Vavasseur. Flora and Son, though.
A single mother is at war with her son, trying to find a hobby for him. One day, she rescues a guitar from a dumpster.
And with the help of an LA-based online guitar teacher, discovers that one person's trash is another person's treasure, basically. Okay, so, is Carney really just good at this, and so he just needs to stick with it? Or do you want to see something else from Carney?
Well,
why hasn't he been offered the next Marvel film?
Right.
Right. Dude, that's always they scream. Who's the latest hot indie filmmaker? Let's bring them.
We also haven't seen him do horror. We haven't seen him do. Of course, this environment immediately. I'm thinking of 28 Days Later. Like why don't we have zombies in any of these movies? Because it feels like they should be in the same universe.
What he could have done with the 28 Years Later community all singing, that could have been like some beautiful Carney stuff there. Like, forget the zombies, just tell us a story on the island.
Yeah, we need more music around the Bone Temple. I just think that's a miss. I don't know. I feel like, here's a guy who's figured out where his best stories live. At the same time, he spent an awful lot of time developing Modern Love, the TV show. I haven't watched any of it, but my understanding is it's not a musical experience at all. I think he also has a real knack for relationship movies. And one of the languages that he speaks is through music, because that's his history and his experience. But also he does have an eye for how relationships exist.
Yeah, I will say that's very true. I think that's an element that you definitely see with the work that he does is that ability to find a connection between people.
Yeah, he really does. This did make me want to crank up Modern Love and just get sort of an experience. It's got a hell of a rotating cast in here. I think it's mostly anthology.
Yeah, and it's just 2 seasons, so it's not too long.
It's not too long, and it's like Black Mirror for, people who are looking for relationship stories. So yeah, I think he's got a real eye and ear for how human connection works, and that is beautifully expressed through music. But I don't think at the exclusion of anything else.
Yeah, I am curious though, because I mean, with Power Ballad filming now, that also is a musical story. I am curious. I mean, it's great to hear like about Modern Love and what he was doing with that show. I am curious if he's going to be doing something else that is not musical based, or if that's, I mean, honestly, he's good at it. So it's not like I'm asking for him to stop. I'm just curious, like, what else can he do,
Yeah. And does he want to do anything else?
Well,
you wonder if
that's a good question.
Like,
yeah.
Are these the movies that he's able to get made because he has such a positive track record with them?
Yeah, and as long as it doesn't get to a point where it feels like he's become pigeonholed in it, and that's the only thing that he gets money for, because, and I guess we're not at that point where their stories are feeling stale yet. So I guess we'll see how Flora and Son plays, and we'll see how Power Ballad plays when it comes out. But
I think that's the real trick so far in this sort of approach to these movies as a bit of a trilogy, spiritual trilogy. Every one of them brings something original to the story. He's not telling the same story over and over again, insofar as he's telling the same story over and over again. I still get enough out of it that's unique that I enjoy the experience. I enjoy the ride very, very much.
Do you think that he handles the period elements fine? I mean, he's Irish, so obviously he was around in 80s Dublin, so probably had a sense as to kind of like the issues in the country and everything, and kind of just the general tone. But it's the only period piece. I mean, do you want to see him do more stuff with period? I think Flora and Son is
contemporary.
I don't know about Power Ballad. It's just, it doesn't say. So who knows about that one? Depicts a conflict between a rock star and a wedding singer.
And the song that comes between them.
It doesn't sound like something that necessarily needs to take place in a period. So I'm assuming it's present day.
But it is a good question, though, Andy. What is the role of the 80s in this movie, apart from the fact that it's when John Carney was, growing up?
Well, I think that's a big thing. Like, I feel like in a way, I think it boils down to what you said. Like, this is a childhood wish fulfillment. Like, this is a path I wish I could have taken. And maybe because of that, it also ends up being the most personal in some ways. I mean, I know there was a lot of him in Once. I don't think there's as much of him in Begin Again, but I think that this film feels, I don't know, I can tap into perhaps a stronger sense of story because it feels like he was most connected to this. Like he seems to really have tapped into wanting to be these characters.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't want to overthink the question of the 80s as an important element, specifically the 80s. I think I think it's important only insofar as that was his reality at the time, and he's painting a picture of that reality. The music itself, I think, has a fascinating contribution to musical lore coming out of the 70s into the 80s. The Cure, the Clash, the sort of straddling punk, electronic goth, trying to figure out our place in the world music. And how do we take ownership of a world that is out of control music? And how do we figure out how to have relationships with people in an era that is over-sexualized, and we don't know how to be over-sexualized, but we think the world's asking us to do that? And, how do we reconcile all these complex things as young people? I think that's an important era of music, and it has influence today, but most of the import of the 80s is because John Carney was there, and it feels like home.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess to that point, it makes me feel like it might be the only period piece we end up seeing from him,
And that would be fine.
Yeah.
That would be fine.
It would be interesting to see him, though, like tackle something. I mean, not that I'm asking the world to create any more music biopics. I feel like we've kind of hit our limit of those. But it would be interesting to see him tackle something like an Amadeus sort of thing. Like,
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
Yes. John Carney's Beethoven.
Yeah. Like something like that could be interesting to see him jump into that type of a relationship story, but take it back a few hundred years.
Right. Maybe he could do that for Shonda Rhimes' production company, and we could just all worlds collide.
God. Yes, we could go that route. Yeah. Well, it's a fantastic movie. I really love it.
It's a fantastic movie. It really, really is. You have any thoughts on how the camera works on this thing?
In a way where it's unobtrusive, like it's not really, nothing stood out as noticeable. It just worked, it didn't catch my eye. If anything caught my eye, I'd just say I thought they did a good job of capturing like the costumes as far as period clothing of the era, but also as they started figuring out their identities as the band. Like I love the bit when they show up for the first video, and then when Rafina shows up and she's just like, she recognizes you're trying, you've got some work to do. Let me help you figure something out. Like that was fun.
Yeah, to the point where the final performance is really well appointed. They look great. They're 80s flamboyant. They really pull it together. I think Yaron Orbach is the DP, and I do think these movies. One of the things that we notice from Once and Begin Again is that the camera really has to be subservient to the music in a lot of ways, right? We can't have the visuals compete too hard with the music, and I think this movie really takes that to the next level. It's not noticeable because the music is so stage forward, right? Especially when the camera changes from we're capturing a movie to we're capturing a music video. And I love that. I love when the camera enters the frame and we start seeing the redhead kid actually being the cameraman. And the producer. Yeah. And I could do lots of things.
Yeah.
All of those elements, I think, integrate together really, really well. So it is not drenched in neon nostalgia, that we have talked about, where 80s movies tend to oversaturate pinks and blues.
Not 80s movies, present day movies taking place in the 80s,
yes,
you mean.
Yeah. Period movies.
Yeah, right.
And this movie does not do that. It makes the choice to stay sort of grounded and earthy. And they're wearing flamboyant colors and pastels and stuff that is in the 80s pop color kind of hue chart.
But it felt like stuff they pulled out of their mom's closet or something.
Yes. Yeah, right. It's just the way it was worn, the way it was fashioned. I think the palette was sort of part of the narrative and not part of just the showpiece of, look, we're in the 80s.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I love the story. I love their relationships, the family relationships dynamic with. It's fun seeing Aidan Gillen in there as the dad and Muriel Doyle Kennedy as the mom.
So good.
The way that his brother Brendan has his relationship with the parents, like it's just such a strange relationship. Like he's always calling them by their first name and doesn't seem to like them much, but the parents kind of just acknowledge that's the way things are. Just kind of go along. Like, I don't know. It's great dynamics. I just love all of that.
Yeah, me too.
Fantastic movie. I absolutely love it. So I'm glad that you added it to the list and we finally got a chance to talk about it.
Me too. It was a great excuse to have this box checked. And I feel like in some respects, in order to talk about this movie, we had to talk about Once and Begin Again. but they're not bad movies, but they're boxes that needed to be checked to get here.
Yeah. So. Well, I like them both. Yeah. I think they're great movies. I think it's a great set of films that Carney made with these three movies. So
for sure.
And I will just say, just as a last note, I don't think I ever caught that the school itself was called Sing Street.
Sing Street.
Like,
Yeah.
I was like, I noticed that this time, and I'm like, the school's name is Sing Street? And my wife was just like, yeah, you've never noticed that? I'm like, I don't think I ever have. And so I'm like, okay, so that's, now the title makes that much more sense, that it's, because it's Synge Street.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's why you didn't notice, because it looks like Singe Street.
It does look like Singe Street. Yeah, there was a nice little note in the credits that talk about the school, like, thanks for letting us use you. We know you're a great place. It's very multicultural. It's a really good school. Like, it was a nice note talking about how times have changed.
Sequels and remakes. Andy, let's go to the big stage.
That's right. Like Once Before, this was adapted for stage as a musical, also coincidentally called Sing Street. It premiered December 2019 after lots of workshops. It was set to premiere 2020, and then, of course, COVID happened. The cast still recorded an album, and then the show premiered in the fall of 2022, finally, with plans to move to Broadway. Never did. And then 2024, Barbara Broccoli of James Bond fame, she announced that it was going to play in London in summer 2025. I don't think that ever happened. So I think that this is something that people have been trying to actually get out there and off the ground, but it's never quite. It's played a few times, but it's never gotten out there. So I don't know if that speaks to its quality or timing or what.
I don't know, man. Is it a story you'd want to see on stage?
I don't know. I don't have any issue with, like, you know, I think it'd play fine on stage. I guess I'd have to see it to see if I like it or not, you know?
Yeah. My last experience with this kind of a thing, band movie turned stage play, is Purple Rain, which didn't go well.
Well, and you also never saw Once. You only heard the music for that one, right?
Right.
Have you heard this? Have you heard the music for this Broadway show? Okay,
I've never put it on. I like the soundtrack to the movie so much.
Yeah,
I like Conor.
Yeah, it makes me wonder
how to do at award season.
It did well for itself. 16 wins with 45 other nominations. At the Golden Globes, it was nominated for Best Musical or Comedy, but lost to La La Land. At the Irish Film and Television Awards, it was nominated for Best Film, but lost to Room, a movie I don't think I realized was Irish. And I guess that just speaks to, you know, the nature of these movies. Like, they're so often they base it on where the money comes from, you know. Mm-hmm. I don't think of Room as an Irish film, but it is. I
don't think I could tell you where it takes place, Room. Where does it take place?
I think it's somewhere in the U.S.
Huh.
The Best Director, here's another one, Lenny Abrahamson, won, beating out Carney for this film, also for Room.
Yeah.
Jack Rayner was nominated for Best Actor in a Supporting Role and won. Best Sound, lost to Room. Best Costume Design in Film or TV Drama, lost to Vikings. Best Makeup and Hair in Film or TV Drama, lost to Dominion Creek. And Best Original Music, it was nominated, but also lost to Room. And then over at the Dublin Film Critics Circle Awards, it was nominated for Best Irish Film, but lost to A Date with Mad Mary.
Oh my goodness. You don't ever want to go on a date with Mad Mary. I will say, Room primarily filmed on location in Toronto and Mississauga, Canada.
Just try saying that a few more times.
Nope, I won't do it. It was a co-production between the U.S., Canada, Ireland, and was shot mostly in Canada.
Yeah. And then Frank is an Irish film? Because wasn't that Lenny's next film?
Oh, that's a good point. I think Frank was. Yeah.
So there you go.
In County Wicklow, Ireland.
Gotcha.
All right. Okay, so that means we have to talk about the box office then.
Oh, yes.
Oh, please tell me it did okay.
Well, for the third in this unofficial trilogy, Carney had a budget of $4 million or $5.3 million in today's dollars. Sing Street premiered at Sundance in 2016, then opened in Ireland March 17th, 2016, and limited in the U.S. on April 15th, opposite The Jungle Book, Barbershop: The Next Cut, Criminal, and Fan. It would eventually expand to 525 screens, but would never get higher than 11th place. Still, it did earn its money back, bringing in $3.2 million domestically and $10.4 million internationally, for a total gross of just under $18 million in today's dollars. That lands the film with an adjusted profit per finished minute of $119,000, meaning it earned the least back in this whole trilogy, though that really has nothing to do with the film's quality.
Yeah, it's still, at $4 million, that's still pennies, but more than he had for anything else, right? What did he have for, I've already forgotten, what did he have for Begin Again?
Begin Again was $8 million, I believe.
Yeah.
So I think that it boils down to the fact that Once did really well because he spent barely any money making that movie, and it made a lot back. Begin Again, he had a huge, comparatively huge budget, twice this budget, and it did fine. You know, it had big stars in it and everything. This is a no-star type of movie that's really just relying on its story and the music and everything to draw people in, and that's always harder to get people in. And I don't know, in today's modern theater world that we're living in, where movie theaters are kind of dying because of streaming and kind of post-COVID, it does make me wonder if he's going to be shifting more to TV work after that next movie of his comes out. I guess we'll see.
You know what's interesting about this? Can you imagine, just as a thought experiment, 8-part limited series that would have been Sing Street, right? Not seeing it as a film. For my money, there is more interesting story here on the development of these kids over time and being able to have them work up to the big concert at the end. And I think it would be an interesting story to have a John Carney music movie told as a limited series.
You just want another Glee, Pete.
Shut up, Andy.
Oh, man.
All right, enough out of you.
Well, it's a great movie, and your point is interesting, but I am curious. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where Carney goes as the industry's changed.
I'm just coming up with ideas for properties you will never see because, movies.
That's true. I know. Well, that's it for today's conversation. Next week, we are returning to our Bette Davis series to discuss her 1940 film directed by William Wyler, The Letter. So let's move on to the ratings.
Letterboxd.com/thenextreel. That's where you can find our HQ page where we have all of the ratings and reviews for the movies that we have talked about on the show. Andy, what are you going to do for Sing Street?
This is an easy one. I've always loved this since I first saw it. Just a fantastic movie. It's an easy 5-star and a heart for me.
Okay, me too.
Yeah, I was going to say, nice try. Nice try, right? I know.
But what about the quibbles? What about all my quibbles, Andy? Yeah, it's 5-star and heart.
I don't think you even talked about a single quibble in this film.
I have no quibbles.
I was going to say, quibbles. You have no quibbles. I brought up all the quibbles.
You have the quibbles.
I know.
I'm surprised yours isn't 4.897 stars.
That's right. It's close. It was almost there. Well, that averages out to 5 stars and a heart, which you can find on our account at Letterboxd at The Next Reel. You can find me there at Soda Creek Film, and you can find Pete there at Pete Wright. So what did you think about Sing Street? We would love to hear your thoughts. Hop into the Show Talk channel over to our Discord community where we will be talking about the movie this week.
When the movie ends,
our conversation begins.
Letterboxd giveth, Andrew.
As Letterboxd always doeth.
Oh my goodness. I need a shower. I've been hanging out in the very bottom of the barrel.
Yeah. How does it feel down there?
It's slimy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hate.
Well, go for it. What do you have?
I guess I hate this movie so much. I would give the 0 if I could. Oh, and why the F do you begin that with a Motorhead effing song? Don't let Netflix make you a victim and trick you into watching this movie. There's not one that I feel like I want to talk. It's just there's a lot of people who hate this movie. And the ones that are specific say things like this. Joe John 1 says, watch this earlier this week. Don't bother. Netflix tricked me into watching it, knowing my affinity for Irish flicks and such. Yeah, this movie is kind of pissed me off multiple times. Mad corny, mad cheesy. I couldn't even finish watching it. So I think that gets back to your point around tropes. And I think, maybe am I letting the movie off too easily around the tropes that people are clearly on fire about? Few people, let's just say, in the scope of the people who've watched this movie, these are the minority voices.
Oh yeah, I mean, the average rating of this film is 4 stars, so it's pretty high. But I think your point makes sense. A lot of people really just don't like the tropes; they find it way too tropey, and I think there's a lot of that here.
Yeah, it's depressing. I don't want to hang out down there anymore. Give me something better.
Well, first I'm going to do another half star, only because
Okay.
It's really funny because this person, their moniker is hater of movie titles, and their complaint is the street itself can't sing. And if you go to their reviews, everybody wants some, but I don't want some. I want to be healthy. $1 million arm. There was no arm that you could buy for $1 million. Everything everywhere all at once. Sorry, filmmakers, but it's simply not possible to place everything everywhere all at once. The Suicide Squad. They still didn't kill themselves. Every one of these movies, half star. So this is another person who is taken to being a smarmy little bastard on Letterboxd. But the one I want to go with is actually a 4 star by Sri. Irish Seth Rogen is my favorite Seth Rogen. And I couldn't agree more.
So true. Oh my God. Oh, that was beautiful. Thanks, Letterboxd.